Hey guys, what's going on? I'm gonna wait like 30 minutes to pull off because the bikers. I don't want to get in their. I don't want them getting in my way. More like getting in their way. But I appreciate all the comments I get, good and bad. And believe it or not, any criticism that I'll have, I always give you a thumbs up, a like, a love, a heart. But I do take in consideration criticism because, like I said, I thought about it. And what I want to do later is I picked my hair out before I did the video, but what I want to do is I want to like get like a little razor and just like even this side out. Now I'm a little conscious about going bald, like having my hair like fall out. So, but I'm gonna just like even it out a little bit. Like any hairs that are sticking up, I did it the other day. I'm gonna just like trim them down so my hair can grow faster and they look a little better when the summertime comes. Because I'm not gonna be wearing no hoodie and it's 107 degrees outside. Because when I do these videos, I'm going my break and it's a little hot right now. I'm wearing like a hairnet or I'm wearing a hood, and I don't really take much consideration into those things. But people watch, and anything you say, like I said, good, bad, I do, take it, I hear it. But one thing, if you come to the channel, that I can't guarantee you is like a back and forth. If we disagree, I may do a video telling you my position, because I'm not going to be talking about politics on here no more. It's just bad energy. I'm really going to just put my time into WWE and any other show I'd ever watched on USA Network, because that's like the second most watched network I watch next to Nickelodeon Cartoon Network. But any kind of like bad comment I get or criticism, I'll take it, I hear it, but I can't guarantee you that I want to get upset for one. Upset really for what? If somebody doesn't have a channel, like videos, but more like I'm not going to go back and forth over somebody's opinion. I mean, get mad about somebody's opinion. But I want to say this, I'm going to go to the store, get some gluten-free food so I can concentrate when I do my reading. But in spite of me telling you I'm not going to talk about politics, it is good energy to talk about politics when you were a kid, because you ever find it funny how crazy your home, like your parents were politically, how uneducated they were on issues, and as an adult you just say, man, why did they put this in my head? So my dad was the most political out of both parents. My mom not so much, but my dad, he always tried to embed in me that the Democratic Party is for black people and the Republican Party hates black people, when both parties do nothing. But historically speaking, the Ku Klux Klan were started by Democrats. Bull Connor was a Democrat. Bill Clinton was a Democrat. All the policies that he's done that's hurt the black community was done by Democrats. But he always put that in my head. And I want to tell you, first thing is, I already told you the story about Barack Obama. Our whole family blindly supported Barack Obama. I remember the first day I heard Barack Obama's name in our household. My dad was watching TV. I know it wasn't downstairs, because we didn't have a TV downstairs. We had one in his room, so it had to be in his room. But he told me, he said, son, look at this right here. He's going to be possibly the first black president. And I said, what's his name? He was like, Barack Obama. And I was like, Barack Obama? I was like, why does he call himself Barack Obama? And he said, because that's what he wants to be, Barack Obama. I was like, okay. And then I just said, well, I'm going to get some ice cream. And I didn't think much of it. I just said, whatever, like, what the hell is a Barack Obama? I'm thinking it's some guy with like a spear and like a giraffe, like hanging over his I'm using Chris Rock's his quote, but I'm thinking like it's gonna be some guy with like a spear and like a dead giraffe like hanging from his hand. And I'm like, oh, okay, I don't give a damn about this guy. And I'm hearing this guy's name again, and like some of you guys, if you're around my age group, in school, when Barack Obama was running and it was official that he was like a top candidate for the Democratic Party, how many people kept saying Joe Biden? I said Joe Biden so many times, the teacher had to say, it's not Biden, it's Biden. Joe Biden. I was like, oh, okay. Joe Biden. I'm sorry, Biden. So you can say, like I said, our family, both sides supported Obama. That 2008 Pennsylvania Barack Obama poster was in our window for 4 years. It turned from dark blue to sky blue. It faded away. He put it downstairs. And let's just pretend we don't know who won the 2012 election. But talking 2006 to 2008, Barack Obama was, like I said, he was the most talked about political candidate in our household. And then Philadelphia, our mayor, Michael Nutter was the president. He was the mayor. He was running for mayor of the city of Philadelphia. Now, let me tell you, I met Michael Nutter one time, 2008. He spoke at our school. I shook hands with him. It's not really a big deal. Like, meeting the mayor is nothing like meeting the president. Now, if he were to run for president, I will clout chase off that story. But I shook hands with Michael Nutter before. And this is before I made fun of his name, because I just said Michael Nutter. Michael Nutter is running for president. All my brother could really think about was just his daughter, how cute his daughter was. That's all he talked about. But that wasn't a really big deal. We all knew. Looking back, you are in a Democratic city. A Republican is not going to win in a Democratic city. But Michael Nutter was the second big candidate in our family that was running for office. And let me tell you, so my dad comes from the Frank Rizzo generation, the Frank Rizzo days of like him being the mayor and police chief. If you don't know who Frank Rizzo is, I'm going to give you a little rundown. So I didn't know who Frank Rizzo was 2008 because I was just mostly around black people. But when all that changed, that's when I was told who Frank Rizzo was. But if you don't know who he is, he was the mayor. He was first the police chief, Philadelphia. Then he was the mayor. He didn't have a great relationship with the black community and really the Black Panthers. He felt like they were agitators. They were communists. And understand, the Black Panthers did not start in Philly. They started in Oakland, California. So this is another chapter of the organization. But my dad thought that he was racist. He didn't talk about Frank Rizzo, but all the stories that I heard was he was a racist. He hated black people, and ironically, Frank Rizzo was a Democrat. He was a member of the Democratic Party, the very party that my dad told me loves black people. And this goes into another example. I may be wrong on this, but one day, and let me tell you guys, around this time, I'm watching a lot of movies on DirecTV. I'm not naturally into fiction. I cannot get into fiction for the love of me. Now, wrestling is fictional. It is scripted, but it's realistic fiction. I can't get into anything that is blatantly fictional, explicitly fictional. So I watched this movie called The Hurricane by Denzel Washington. And it's about a boxer named Reuben Carter, Hurricane Carter, who was found guilty of, I believe, double or triple homicide back in 1966. He was sentenced to life for murders that he did not commit. So one day, me and my dad are driving. We're downtown, City Hall driving, and we see these protesters that were begging for the release and the freedom of, they were saying, free Mumia Abdul Jamal. Mumia Abdul Jamal was a member of the Black Panther Party back in the 70s. I'm going off my dad's story. I have my own opinions on this, but I may keep them to myself. But my dad told me the story of Mumia Abdul Jamal. He told me that one day when Mumia Abdul Jamal's brother was being stopped by a police officer, I believe, I know it was Faulkner. I forgot his first name. But the cop stopped his brother and as Mumia Abdul, who is in the area, he's in the vicinity because he's like a taxi driver, he intervenes and the cop gets shot. He's shot in the back of the head and in the face. And the cop winds up shooting Mumia Abdul Jamal. But the story my dad told me is the brother was the one that shot him, not Mumia Abdul Jamal. And I said, well, how come the brother he's never been arrested? He said no one has found him to this day. That's what I was told. He told me that story. Now, I don't really want to give you my opinion on it very much because we have this whole group thought in the black community. Like everybody who commits a act against a white person is somehow innocent. Like O.J. Simpson, we all rally for him. And it turned out, like I said, I personally, I don't want to say if he did it or not, but we saw what happened 14 years later. Like he fucked up after he got off 2 murders, and we all had support for him. And I believe watching the documentary, O.J. Simpson, this is kind of funny to me. You know what O.J. Simpson said when he saw all the black community support of him as he was driving in AC's Ford Bronco? He asked AC, what are all these niggas doing in Riverside, California? That's what he said to AC in the car, I believe. He said, what are all these niggas doing here in Riverside, California? But he had the most support from black people. And ironically, he did whatever he could to stay away from black people. I mean, he married a white woman. He lived around whites, didn't associate with many blacks very much. But he got the most support from black people when he was on murder charges. But Mumia Abdul Jamal, he was prosecuted by Ed Rendell. My dad had a hatred for him because Ed Rendell, prosecuted Mumia Abdul Jamal, and he was eventually the mayor of Philadelphia when I was born. But what was Ed Rendell? Ed Rendell, I believe, was a Democrat. So he tells me all these things about, this side is for us, but look at what they're doing. Look at historically the Democratic Party's relationship, and not just Philly, but just all over America. So this is why I don't really take political advice from him, because he gave me the false notion of the Democratic Party, the donkeys. I'm not necessarily a Republican now. I have voted twice Republican. I will never vote again because I believe that you need to have an objective for voting. You shouldn't just vote because it's your civic duty or you want to save this country. You need to have an objective. And if that candidate does not have an objective for you or your people, don't cast a vote. And if you don't know the issues that are being passed, don't cast a vote. I think that's a lot better, because why do they allow people to vote if they don't have an education, but you need to pass a test to drive a car? I never understood that at all. You could drive a car, so you need to take a test to drive a car, but not to vote. I never got that at all. But that sums up our political ties, like our political views in the family. Barack Obama. So here's the thing: Barack Obama is our second black president. I don't know about our first. I thought Bill Clinton was the first black president, but you can't say nothing about. So I learned this in 2008. Don't say nothing about our first black president. Mumia Abdul Jamal didn't do the crime. He's off the death penalty now. I think he's got life in prison. And don't vote Republican. Because when Obama won that election, and I saw some black people who were for McCain on TV. I think it was CNN, because we didn't watch Fox News in our house. I just watched whatever my dad did that involved Barack Obama. It had to be CNN, but it was people booing Barack Obama because McCain won. And I said, Dad, it's black people in that crowd. And he was just like, he was like, yeah, son, I know. Because can you believe too, for my one of my classes, my history class, for my teacher, we had to do an assignment. I don't know what the assignment was comprised of, but my assignment, I did do a piece on Clarence Thomas, who was a Supreme Court justice. And my dad told me that Clarence Thomas hates black people. and he's an Uncle Tom. And you know, my dumb ass said that in class. I just threw that when I was done talking about when I gave my oral report. I mentioned Clarence Thomas. I just threw in the fact that he hates black people, and nobody said nothing. Nobody said anything in class. But my dad has always told me, Clarence Thomas hates black people. He's Uncle Tom. Politics too. So one thing I will tell you, a little fun fact. Just speaking on some Philly activists, I never heard of a Dr. Umar Johnson as a kid. So he has always been a principal, a school official. He's been like a principal and a school psychiatrist. So I would not see him in the streets, but I've never heard that name. As long as much as I've been in Philly my whole life, I've never the first quarter and year of my life, 26 years, so a quarter and 1 year of my life, I've never heard of a Dr. Umar Johnson. It's not only until YouTube I heard who he was. But one activist I want to tell you, who's always been in the streets, who's always been in the community, who is not really Republican or Democrat, is an activist, as Maj Toure. He started the group Black Guns Matter. Since I was catching the train, I always saw him hustling, selling his CDs, selling his DVDs, his incense, his colognes, his whatever he had to sell. He was always on the train hustling. He was always in the community doing things. When I attended summer camp, 2007, I saw him at our camp. Cause I never knew his name. We called him the guy on the train. That's what we called him, because there was always somebody selling or begging on the train, and we used to say, yo, that's the guy on the train right there. I was like, you got that from the guy on the train? I never knew him as Maj Toure. But when I saw his face, I was like, I know that guy from somewhere. And when I researched him, I was like, oh, this is the guy on that gets on the express train and he sells the CDs, because he was first a rapper. The girlfriend got a CD by him, which I don't really know if it was good or not. She played it in the morning time during breakfast, and she had to turn that shit off because she said it was annoying. But he first started out as a rapper, and then he just sold, CDs, DVDs, and they were. I got actually one. I got because they people with bootleg CDs. Some were actually pretty good. I forgot which movie I got, but I got a CD from him one time. And he's like the only activist that I know of who was always in the streets, always in the community. But I never heard of a Dr. Umar Johnson. So I can say that whatever it is that he's doing, it is genuine, because he's always been. He never came off the type who would take a lot of money, like donations, and move in a white neighborhood, one of the founders of Black Lives Matter. We're talking about Black Guns Matter, but one of the founders of Black Lives Matter used a lot of the donations to buy her a house. I don't see him doing something like that. I feel that he will put that money in his own community and build, and that's how you fix a community. You put it up. Well, you should get fathers in the home for one, but you build a community by putting money in it. Fathers help more, but when you have enough money for programs, you have enough money for food, where people don't have to steal, when people can gain skills, when you give kids a way that doesn't involve crime, that's what builds the community. But I will tell you this, politically, Barack Obama, Michael Nutter, and those are like the only two people that got our attention that year. George Bush was not loved in our home at all. Everything. So let me just tell you this. It's going to 2005. Just in my opinion, we were not affected by Katrina, but we did give money to anybody who was like any stores that wanted a donation for Hurricane Katrina relief. We did give money. That's the most we did. But Kanye West. So there was no social media back then. So I never seen the video of him saying that George Bush doesn't like black people. I thought it was a game. I thought it was like a game on PlayStation called George Bush doesn't like black people. That's what I thought it was. But we found out Kanye West said that. And when I heard it, I always had the notion that George Bush was a racist. He didn't care for black people. Now, today, looking at all the facts, I gotta ask this question. Now, Kanye West is a rapper. I don't take him very seriously on social issues, because he will say whatever he needs to say to stay relevant. I understand that. I understand his game. I don't knock his game, but I understand his game. But why don't you find fault in the governor out of anybody? So I understand the president has a responsibility to do for people in his country, but the first person I would be mad at is the governor. I believe the governor was a black woman. I believe so. I believe the mayor was a black man in New Orleans. The New Orleans mayor was a black man, and the governor was a female who was like Creole and black or white, whatever. Why didn't he find fault in the mayor and governor? I mean, they should be the first people you should be mad at. But this is why I say he will say what he feels is popular to stay relevant. Because if anything, okay, I remember Barack Obama, there was a flood in Louisiana, like 2016, and he didn't really do much about that. But you didn't hear Kanye West say much about Obama. But he went off on Bush, because at the time, that's what was the popular thing to do with celebrities. Like, everybody was attacking Bush, not like how they attacked Trump, but everybody had something to say about Bush. But that's when I say Republicans, but Democrats always get a pass. They do more worse than the Republicans. They claim the Republicans do, and they always get a pass. But that was that. Let me tell you this too, because we're talking about politics and race. I want to just bring race into this now. 2008, I'm beginning to realize through a lot of my classmates, not that I'm interacting with different races. I don't have any real interactions with whites or Hispanics, just black people. But I'm beginning to see, obviously I'm black at 13, but I'm beginning to see the race relations like our problem, like just my status in this country. I don't hate myself at all. Now, kids are making light of my skin color. So let me just throw this by you. I don't care what people think of my skin, my hair. I like to make sure my hair looks fine, but mostly my skin, my features, I'm comfortable with my own skin. I can confidently tell you I'm very comfortable with myself. I don't want to ever have one thing I do fear is obtaining vitiligo, where I may get lighter, but my skin, these are only things I'm uncomfortable with. Two things. So people have the notion that dark-skinned people, it's not really the men, sometimes it's women, they get the notion that we want to bleach our skin and get lighter. I think that's a result of being around people who hate themselves and don't necessarily like being black, but they don't really say it. But I would never be comfortable with having a skin tone that does not match my features. So if I were to be lighter, I don't feel like the skin tone that I have, my features that I have will match my skin tone. So if I lighten my skin, I would not love myself, because my skin tone would not match my features. Now, if I had like a smaller nose, I had different lips, and whatever my facial features were different, I guess I wouldn't mind being a little lighter, because my features would match my skin tone would match my features. But I would never lighten my skin, because it would not go right with my features. I just don't think that it would match my features at all. But around this time, kids are really giving me a hard time about my skin, being dark skinned, and all these jokes about you're so black in Africa, and you look like this person. Like, this is what in a lot of us in my class, I always got to look like somebody that's not me. I can't never just be myself. I always got to look like this person off of this movie. And I'm just making fun of myself right now. You always get this. So you always get that you look like the crackhead from Friday, or you look like Eddie Murphy. You look like what was another one? You look like Rafiki from Lion King. I'm laughing at it today, but it's just so stupid how black people laugh at other black people for being who they are. But it's like when a white person calls you the N-word or whatever, it's just like, oh, you racist. Well, you don't got no smoke for the white person. And this also, I wanna throw this in here too. If you guys remember, because I like reminiscing about things. You guys remember Gina 6? This was a case, I believe, in Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken. There was a kid, and it's funny how when I'm having autism, you hear things, and when you read the actual story, you just say, man, why would we be protesting for these clowns? So there were 6 people who were being charged with attacking a white student for referencing lynching in a town. Gina, I believe it was Texas or Louisiana. I gotta research it, but they referenced lynching, and the student was attacked, and they all charged them as adults, I believe. And my teacher had on a Gina 6 shirt because my dad was telling me about it. And I might do a part 2 to this. I'm sorry.